All right, ladies and gentlemen, please listen. Oh, I don't need this big. Please listen very carefully. You have a 25 question test on Thursday, all multiple choice, of course. We have your focus, which will be due in person. Your primary, which we did yesterday. No matter what your score is, everyone gets 10 points as long as you submit it because you've never had that process before and it'd be rude to hold you accountable. Can we agree? So going forward, is that process capable of being recorded?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Did you see how bad you are at it?
Yes.
So next week, I'm going to do the primary with you. Should you be paying closer attention?
Yes.
Because accountability is coming. And y'all aren't good at them. Which I'm not panicking. It happens every single year. Something in the last quarter, things start clicking, but we got to keep pushing you. Is everyone clear? So your entire DBQ, which is 25% of your entire AP exam, is 7 documents that you have to annotate, understand, and use your happy to answer the question. So it's also all over your tests. Oh, and you have SAQs based on passages, yes? It's inescapable in AP world not to be good at primary, so it's a skill we have to have. Patrick, did you have a question?
No.
Colin, what do you got?
How long do we usually have to intake for DBQs?
15 minutes. Yeah. Yeah.
So 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
You can't even read it in that time.
Oh, this is APE. Yeah. No, it's incredibly fast. But they think you can do it in an hour. I'm telling you, you can't. So that's why you don't have that much time for your long essay question. Okay. So as we are going through, it's important that we are continuing to focus on what is important, and primaries are, and we're going to come back to them because it's a skill you guys are lacking on. We're going to get you there, but it's something we needed to address head on that you're not very good at it. Yes? Perfect. At the top of your notes, I do want you to write Unit 5 because we're in Unit 5. And that date range is 1750 to 1900. Oh my God, is it important that we know our date ranges? Because all of our essays are based on? There you go. So at the beginning of the year, it's not worth stressing you out. But now as we're getting through content and we understand where this is going, understanding date ranges of 1750 to 1900, which is what Unit 5 is, that is important for us going forward. So we'll always be talking about date ranges as we go now that you're starting to grasp what is important and what is not. Your, of course, heading is industrialization spreads. Let's do it. Okay. Who can raise their hand and tell me what country is the first country in the world to industrialize? Bronson. England. England is going to industrialize first because it has 2 natural resources. Who can raise their hand and tell me what those 2 natural resources are? What do you got, Andrew?
Coal and iron ore.
Thank you. Iron ore. Iron is wrong because it's a finished product. Iron ore comes to the ground, which makes it a natural resource. Okay, so England is the first to industrialize. You learned that last week. Okay, now industrialization is going to spread. You do need to know the top 5 countries, and I'm about to tell you, you're going to make a list right now. The number 1 is obviously England. I'm telling you right now, there is an absolute correlation with the next 5 countries. The next 5 countries are going to be the next 5 countries that we talk about all the damn time because they run the politics and the economy for the entire world. Is everyone ready for them? Here we go. The first 5 nations to industrialize is England, United States, Germany, France, and you're going to write later in parentheses. Later. So there's a delay. That's what I want you to acknowledge. Japan. So you're writing later before you write Japan because I want you to acknowledge that it's a little bit delayed. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, going forward, what 5 countries are we going to talk about all the damn time? England, U.S., Germany, France, Japan. Those are the 5 countries that run the world. Of course, Russia's going to shove itself in there at some point. But they don't industrialize until 1918. We're in 1801 at this point. That's a long time, but we'll get there. Here we go. Okay, France is your first country we're going to address. France is slow to industrialize. You do need to know that. France is slow to industrialize, and industrialization is led by Napoleon. Who can raise their hand and tell me why France is slow to industrialize? if it's during Napoleon's reign. What do you got, Alex?
Because he was in, they did not have that much money because all of their money was being focused on the American Indian War. And,
No. We are well beyond the American Indian War because the French and Indian War is going to predate. It's going to predate the American Revolution, and we're currently in 1750 to 1800. Napoleon is not really known for that. What is he known for, Isfan? Huh? The French Revolution is happening right before Napoleon comes into play, so all of a sudden there's complete economic turmoil, right? Because we have the French Revolution, then we have the Reign of Terror, yes, where Maximilian goes around beheading everyone, and then everyone's like, well, this sucks, and then they allow Napoleon to take over. That's how Napoleon comes into power right after the back of the Reign of Terror. So are things going great in France, or like kind of shit? Kind of shit. So it's a slow to industrialize because we have the Napoleonic Wars going. Write that down. I think that's where you're trying to get to, Alex. You're talking about the Napoleonic Wars are pulling funding, which is correct. And it's in the middle of the French Revolution, so politics are chaos. That's why it's slow. Doesn't that make a lot of sense? Okay? They also have a small population. Because they used to be agricultural, you need to know they're a small population. Okay, your next country is Germany. Germany is also slow to unify. Now, I've already taught you the dude. I told you there are 2 Germans you need to know for all of AP World. Who can raise their hand and tell me the German I'm referring to? And it sure as hell is not Hitler if we're in 1801. Who is the dude, Zoe?
Is it Otto von Bismarck?
Otto von Bismarck is responsible for the industrialization of Germany. Otto von Bismarck is also doing one other thing while he's industrializing Germany, which is making slow industrialization. What else is he famous for? Oh, God, people. What is he doing? He's doing something else. Colin.
And he started the Women's Wars.
Well, yeah, doing what?
Fighting French.
No. Well, they are going to fight the Napoleonic Wars, but that's not what we're referring to. Otto von Bismarck does what, Alex?
He expands like the territory by the use of not boundaries, by like
He unifies Germany. Write it down. He unifies Germany by war. So if he's conquering a ton of territory, do you think he has a ton of time for industrialization on the side? No, but he's going to get industrialized. So when we talk about slowly industrializing, there's a reason for it. Okay, United States is next. United States is fast. This is happening in 1801. What is happening in the United States in 1801? Nothing! Nothing! Nothing is happening in the United States, so what are we doing? Industrializing. We can push the whole force of the United States into industrialization. The reason why we're throwing ourselves into industrialization is here in America we're in an isolationist period. What does isolationist mean? So maybe Gov kids better know this because this is coming up. Lauren. Yeah, we're staying out of the Napoleonic Wars. We're actually kind of helping Napoleon because we bought the Louisiana Purchase from Napoleon. So we're staying out of the wars so we can focus on industrialization. That's why we move ourselves so far to the front of the line, even though we're a young nation. So because of isolationism, the United States has fast industrialization. We also have a ton of immigrants. So we have a huge population. Why are people moving to the United States? If you're an AP Gov, I taught this yesterday, Desmond. No, freedom of religion is a big thing in the 16th and 17th century. We're now in the 1800s, so no. What do we got? Jade.
Like people like start over their lives.
Okay, for what reason? Why? Because they had a bad breakup, Jade? What?
Like to make more money.
Yes, economic reasons. People are moving to the United States for economic reasons. The American dream, yes. You can come here with nothing in your pocket. You can start a business and become a millionaire, and your children's lives will be significantly improved. That is the American dream, economic. Okay, so we have a ton of immigrants coming here for the American dream. We have a ton of huge amounts of natural resources. Write it down. Okay, huge amounts of natural resources. Quick question, who's bigger, the United States or England?
Oh, we're
The United States is significantly better. Like really, really, really bigger than England. Okay? So, with that being said, we have way more natural resources, which makes industrialization significantly easier. Is everyone clear? Okay, so the reason why the United States industrializes is because we don't have that much going on because we're in a state of isolation here. Everyone's clear on that, yeah? Perfect. Let's go to Russia. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need to write this down, but just listen. Russia's a hot mess. It's a hot mess because it's the last country to get rid of the Mongols, yes? Okay, so they're already behind. The last time we talked about Russia is Queen Catherine is going to abolish servitude. Dude, everyone else in Europe got rid of the serfs 400 years earlier, and they're just getting rid of them in 1888. Things going well in Russia or no? No. You do need to know, and you do need to write this down. Russia is trying to be competitive with Europe. So what is Europe doing right now? So what is Russia trying to do? Because they don't want to be left behind anymore. So they're going to do state-sponsored industrialization. You have to know that term. Oh, I love it. So let's go from the back way. If we are talking about state-sponsored industrialization, and it's only with Russia, what is then England, France, the United States? It's private. Write that down. England, France, the United States, and Germany are all private, which means who's doing it, Desmond? Private citizen. So if Desmond used to own a basket making company and we all worked for Desmond making baskets, and then he's like, well, hell no, I don't want to pay these people anymore. I'm going to mechanize this shit. Okay? Guess what? 2/3 of us lose our job. Because Desmond wants to make more money and doesn't care about our babies at home. You know? Aiden's got 15 kids at home, Desmond, and you're just going to let him not feed them? Damn, dude. What's up? Your quiz is going to be posted on Canvas, and it's posted on Thursdays. So, it's Tuesday. So, on Thursday, I'll post it on Canvas, and you can do it at home. It's been the same procedure for 12 weeks now. See you, David. Okay, so what is going to happen is we're going to have state-sponsored. So, private citizens, like Desmond, are going to decide he doesn't want to pay all of us anymore. He wants to make machines make the baskets, and he only needs 1/3 of us to run the machines. State-sponsored means the government is trying to force industrialization. Now, typically, when a government decides to overhaul its entire economy, does it go smoothly or rather bumpily? Bumpily, especially if the Russians are doing it. It's not going to go smoothly. Okay, so the government is trying to industrialize the country so they can be more competitive with Europe. Okay, you need to know the WITT system. W-I-T-T-E. W-I-T-T-E. It's under Russia. It is the first attempt to industrialize Russia. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if I tell you it's the first attempt to industrialize Russia, is it going to work? No. Okay, we're in 1801. Russia doesn't industrialize until 1918. It takes 100 and something years for it to happen. Okay? So, Russia is going to be behind for a very long time. Here we go. So, the WITT system. It's the first attempt of industrializing Russia. The only success is the Trans-Siberian Railway. That is the only successful thing, and it is going to connect Europe to the Pacific Ocean. Okay? Now, I am telling you right now, it is not going to happen for me for a very long time, but on my bucket list, I would like to do the did I say Saharan? I meant Trans-Siberian. That would be wild. The Trans-Siberian Railway. It still exists today in 2022. You get on a train in St. Petersburg, which is on the Baltic Sea in Europe, and it takes you 2.5 weeks, and you get dropped off on that skinny strip peninsula right above Japan. It takes you 2.5 weeks, and it's a luxury car accommodation. You know how in the 1900s, like when you used to see like wealthy people in train cars, and they're like super fabulous and opulent and all this like really cool stuff? That's what this train is made out of, and you buy 2 train cars for yourself for the week, and you get to like move into the public spaces, and you have 2 train cars for yourself. It's super luxury accommodations. But the cool thing is about the Trans-Siberian is that it access parts of Russia that are inaccessible to humans because they're so remote. So you're like seeing waterfalls and forests and open plains that you can only see via train. Isn't that cool?
Do they stop?
Yeah, they do stop. They have a bunch of stops. Like every other day or every third day, they stop in towns, and like the whole town shows up to sell tourist stuff, and like it's a huge like kind of fair festival like in the towns to attract people to get off the train and spend the money. Apparently, it's super cool. It's on my list of things to do. I can't wait to do it. I'm not going anytime soon. Thank you, Putin. But it's on my bucket list, and it's super cool. You can look online. There's tons of like YouTube videos and like posts about it. It's like apparently one of the coolest things you can do, and it's not as expensive as you think. It's like for 2.5 weeks, all food, all drink included. It's only like $8,000. But luxury accommodations, food and drink for 2.5 weeks. It's really not bad.
It's like the
Huh?
to like the region you're in.
Yeah, they pull like yeah. So as you come across Russia, it becomes more Asian. Yeah, it's really cool. But hi, do not go to Russia as an American. Not until Putin's dead. Things are not going well between America and Russia right now. This is not the time to go on a Trans-Siberian Railway.
How do they know you're American? What if it comes like
They know when you arrive. And I'm sorry, Marion, this is going to come off a little harsh. You'll look American, girl.
But like, how would Putin know you're
Passport.
When Russians show up to America, I'm not saying Putin physically knows I'm in the place. Putin doesn't have like little Samantha Bennett senses, like, oh my gosh, she's here. But like, your IDs get flagged, and they'll follow you around at this point. They're following Americans around. In China, if you go land in China, they have government assets who literally follow you around, and they make themselves known. They make it known that you are being followed by Chinese government employees.
Because they don't like
It's a
America.
little creepy, but like,
I mean, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. I mean, not that I'm doing anything shady, but like, I'm not rushing to China either. Does that make sense? Are you though? The Chinese hate us incredibly well, and they are trying to decide whether they should attack Taiwan. And they are literally looking at our every single step, thinking, is Biden gonna go to war with us or not? And if he goes to war over Taiwan, if Xi Jinping, who just won re-election again, even though there was no vote, I wonder how that works. If he bombs, we're going to war. Theoretically. So China is literally sitting around waiting, like, are they going to do it or are they not going to do it? And they're trying to make a decision to go. By the way, they send rockets over Taiwan all the damn time as a way to threaten them and scare them, but they don't want to hit Taiwan yet because they don't know if we would get in the war if we did. And so not a great time to go to China as an American. What do you got, Lauren?
but Russia's like a bigger threat than China.
No. You are absolutely wrong on that, my love, and I say that with kindness. No. Russia's military, I think we've all seen, is not very good.
They're just
China's military is incredibly more meticulous and trained. Now, they're going to have some problems because it's never actually been tested. Yes, we know this. Russian military hasn't really been tested except in defensive positions, which they've always held Russia. Wave your hand. Come in. But it's a huge problem. Thank you, my darling. Oh, perfect. All right, moving forward. Russia, WIT system. First attempt, Trans-Siberian Railway. When Putin's dead, you should go. If we're friends. I don't know if we're friends, so it's not going to be for a while. Maybe for your 40th wedding anniversary. You and your significant other go. That would be a hell of a vacation.
in our 60s.
He's like late 60s, early 70s, I guess. I don't know.
Does Putin have a successor?
I know. We're going to move on because this is not on your test. Japan is also going to be a state-sponsored industrialization. So what two countries are state-sponsored industrialization?
Japan, Russia.
Russia and Japan. Russia's doing it to compete with the Europeans. The Japanese are doing it to keep their
Culture.
culture. Okay, so you also need to know for Japan, defensive modernization. You have to know that term, with Desmond shared so lovely during our Do Now today. Defensive modernization is that they believe if they do not industrialize, they will lose their country. And are they probably accurate?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because what's the only Asian country that did not get colonized? Japan. Japan. And that's because they were colonizing. They are built different. Japan is the only Asian country that is industrialized. They are going to go and start colonizing their Asian neighbors, and it is going to cause a ton of hatred spewed towards the Japanese. The Japanese are not particularly well liked amongst Asians because of the war crimes and the horrible conditions that they created in their colonies in China and in other parts of Asia. Okay, so it is a huge deal. Japanese people aren't really liked in Asia. What do you got, Desmond?
Where did they colonize?
Huh?
Like where in Asia?
China is going to be one of the biggest ones. They're going to have some in Korea for a little bit. They're also going to have control over Taiwan for a while. Just kind of a little bit all over. A lot of the islands, a lot of your Pacific islands are going to be. Think about World War II. Anywhere they fought, they had it. Okay, let's talk about technology in the industrialized age. That's your next heading. Bronson, can I entertain you more? Or? So, you need to know coal is the fuel source of the early industrial revolution. Coal is the fuel source. Okay. Why is coal better than wood? Who can raise your hand and tell me why coal is better than wood? What do you got, Reagan? It burns longer, and when you talk about burning stuff, you have to refer to length and heat. Heat, okay? Heat is the other major component, because keep in mind, the hotter something burns, the faster the air is heated, and that turns the turbines. Yes? Okay? So, heat and length is how we measure. So, wood has a pretty low burning threshold. It does get hot, obviously. I'm sure you've burned yourself before on a campfire. But coal gets hotter, okay? Now, which one is easier to have around, coal or wood? Which one's easier?
Coal.
Raise your hand if you think it's wood. Raise your hand if you think it's coal. Coal is easier because it lasts longer, you need less of it, and it's smaller. And think about wood burns shorter and takes a lot more wood to actually burn to the same temperatures. So you go through a lot more wood. I mean, yeah, but if you're in a city, how many trees you gotta cut down?
Yeah, exactly, but we use those trees.
Well, yeah, but then they're gone. It's fine. Welcome to 2022. We have a tree shortage because they cut down all the
Trees.
trying to burn them. Okay, so coal. What is the next evolution? From coal, we go to. Well, coal is a fossil fuel. We can't go to iron ore. That's weird. You go from wood to coal. What's the next fossil fuel? Go on. Oil. Oil is next. You do need to know this. This is going to be something that's going to keep coming up because we're obviously in the industrialized age and we're living off of it today. Okay. Oil. Unrefined oil. Write it down. Unrefined oil is a mix of oil, like the black stuff that you think of, and gasoline. Okay? Unrefined oil, like pumped fresh out of the ground, is going to be unrefined oil. Unrefined oil is like oil that you think of, and gasoline mixed. You cannot burn it in a factory or something because it's so smoky. It's super smoky. Everyone would die within like an hour of smoke inhalation. So, what you have to do is refine it. You have to refine oil, and then all of a sudden you got like motor oil, like the black stuff that you think of, and then you have separate gasoline. Know that. So, it is only until you have refined oil that you have oil, motor oil, and gasoline. Motor oil is going to be the preferred because it's stable. What does that mean? What does that mean, Desmond?
It'll just like blow up and.
Yeah, it doesn't blow up. That's why it's in our grocery stores, and that's why you can just go up in Publix. You can just pick up a thing of motor oil for your car and stuff like that because it just doesn't blow up. If you light it on fire, like you take a match and you hold it to it, will it light? Yes. But if you're just around it, is it going to catch fire? No. What's the problem with gasoline? It's unstable. It's unstable. If you light actual gasoline, like you pour the gasoline thing and you light the actual liquid, it's going to obviously combust, but it also can combust via the fumes, yes? There are vapors. It'll also catch fire and cause a massive explosion. It makes it unstable. During this time period, just so you know, which one did they prefer, oil or gas? Oil, because it's stable and predictable. But they had all of this gas that came out of it. So what did they do with it? They dumped it into, essentially, think ponds, okay? And then they lit it on fire. I know, and that's like the thing. Like, imagine how much money they burn today of wealth because we use gasoline. The reason why we use gasoline is because it's a cheaper byproduct of oil. It used to be, at least, and now we've transitioned our whole economy based on it, which has obviously jacked up the price. Now, when we talk about gas, they used to burn it in these massive pits, and it used to be just like a lake on fire outside of these major cities. Could you imagine living during this time period? That's why they said London was bright red and black for 15 years. Like, just the pollution was so terrible. And by the time they finally implemented laws to do something about it, it took about 15 years for it to kind of dissipate. Now, coal is the original fossil fuel. We go to oil. What is the difference between oil and coal? Why do you think we transition from coal to oil? Think about it logically. Alex.
It's easier to access.
It's easier to access. Think about it. When I think of coal, I think of the 7 dwarfs. Okay, they push their little bucket into their little hole in the ground that you have to make, right? You have to chip away. Then you go into your little hole, and then you find the coal, and then you got to hit it with your little mining pick, and then it falls to the ground, and you got to sit there and scoop it, and you got to say, it's off. Okay, you put it in your little bucket, and then you push it out of the hole, and then you get up there, and then you got to scoop it out, and then you got to put it and give it away and sell it, yeah? That's all work. You need 7 dwarfs to do it, okay? With oil, you find the oil. You dig down, and then it squirts out. And you're like, oh shit, I did it. And then you put a little hole. You plug the hole, and then you have a hose system that comes out, and then you just fill it. Oil. Which one's easier? Oil. Which one can you make more money off of? Which one's more stable? Which one's easier to store?
Oil.
Hence why we transition from coal to oil, and then eventually oil to gas because it's a cheaper byproduct. What do you got?
Is there like different parts of gasoline and diesel and stuff that we
Yeah, it's different grades, how refined it is. You are literally coming to the cap of my fossil fuel knowledge. I hope you enjoyed the amount of knowledge I have about it, and we're about to hit the top because I don't know much more. Here we go. So, coal is going to be the predominant choice at the early stages. We're going to have steam ships. This is really important. You need to know. The steam engine is created by what? You already know that because it's on your map. That steam engine is then going to transition to steam ships. They need to have coal. If you fill your entire ship with coal, what's going to happen to your ship? It's two-way down. A wave is going to knock it over, and you're going to sink, and everyone dies. So, you can't have too much coal, you have to have balance. So, what they're going to do, all of these industrialized countries, including the United States, is going to have coal depots. D-E-P-O-T. These coal depots are going to be all around the world so their steamships can get coal. This is the foundation of imperialism. Because are they going to want to pay the natives to use their land? But if they steal it, and they just confiscate it, you don't have to pay. It's like if you go to Best Buy and you steal a television from Best Buy. It's very cost effective. You have a TV and you spend no money. That's cost effective. Now here in the United States, you are definitely going to jail. So do not go to Best Buy and steal a TV and say Bennett said this is cost effective. That's not what I'm trying to. But these European countries are going to steal it because they'd rather not pay for it because that's not convenient. So this is the foundation of imperialism. I would circle imperialism. These coal depots is the foundation of imperialism. Also, when we have steamships, it's more effective than sailing ships because steamships don't need wind. So only 5 countries in the world are going to have steamships for their whole navy, and that makes those navies almost
Stoppable.
There you go. So no other country can begin competing. You also need to know the Bessemer process. The Bessemer process is the reason why we are here. The Bessemer process takes iron and turns it into steel. Okay? Steel is what builds skyscrapers so cities get bigger. And railroads. Railroads are one of the most important inventions of the 18th century. Okay? Railroads are huge because it's moving people, sure. That's not really their main function. Today in 2022, railroads are an incredibly important part of our infrastructure. All of your goods at some point traveled on a train. Isn't that wild? Because we don't use trains. When's the last time you were on a train?
Oh,
Exactly.
I was on a train 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
Yep.
I was on a train. You've never been on a train?
That's crazy.
It's really boring.
I don't know. It's like it's low key fun. Like
No,
I like
listen-
sightseeing.
You've never
I
been
went from
on
New
a
York to
train?
Boston. It was no
Not
fun.
even in like New York or Boston subways?
It's like a
Okay, well,
6-hour
subway,
drive.
but
It's
I've
like
never
a
been on
3-hour
the
train.
railroad.
So I was like,
That is
what?
a train.
Train it
It's
is.
just an electrical.
Okay, then I've been on one of those.
Okay.
I've been on like a railroad train.
What other
Weird.
trains do?
3,
Subway, apparently.
2. Subways I consider a train.
But it's like that's like.
What are you
fake
expecting?
train.
Big billows of smoke? Those don't exist anymore.
Yes, that's what like that was my.
That's
impression of
not.
train.
Actually,
No.
at Universal they have
The
a
big
hyper
billows
train.
of smoke, those are only on the North Pole visits when you go visit Santa. Those are antiques that they queue up so you can sit and eat hot chocolate for 10 minutes while you ride through Plant City. No. No. Those are not how we do things anymore. No. We don't have like coal burning trains moving things. It's all done by electricity now. Yes. Yes, they do. Santa's little heart loves ruining the environment with coal-fired trains. Here we go. Okay, you need to know that Bessemer is going to open up trains, ladies and gentlemen. It is because if you put iron underneath a train, there's a couple of problems. Trains are really heavy. Shocking. I know, shocking. When trains are rolling on the tracks, it's metal on metal. Metal on metal causes lots of heat and lots of friction. And so iron cannot hold it. So what happens because of the weight and the heat, the iron will give away very quickly. Now, maybe not the first time, maybe not the 15th time, but it will give way and the train will go off the tracks and everyone's dead. Okay? Steel is the only metal that can be used on trains safely because steel has a high enough heat index that it can keep it off. Keep trains on the rails. So we could not have trains. We could not have. Now, when you think about skyscrapers, you're probably like, okay, who really cares who lives in a skyscraper? Fine. Housing. During the industrialized age, the most common material for building a house is going to be brick at this time period. Brick, you can only go 3.5 stories up. Because if you go 4 stories, the building falls in on itself because it's too heavy. Brick is really, really heavy, obviously, because it's brick. So without steel, we can't have higher than 3-story buildings. And how are we living in cities if we're only living in 3-story buildings? We're not. So factories, large cities aren't really happening. If you go to old parts of New York, Chicago, Boston, all these major cities, you go through rows of old houses that are built with brick, yeah, the brownstones. They're only 3.5 stories up. What? Your face is so confused, Olivia. What can I help you with? Not with brick. If you go like 4.5 to 5 stories, it'll collapse on itself. That's why all of your old brick buildings are like 3.5. Yes. People use fake brick today. They usually put concrete behind it and then put a brick overlay on it so it looks like brick. We're not talking about buildings that are being built in 2022, people. What do you got?
Why can't you just build like a 3-story house of brick and then just build another one on top of it?
No.
Are you?
I think that fundamentally goes against the foundation of bricks too heavy.
Like, if the problem is that like it can't be like too high like this way, just like close off and then just.
So put another structure on top? You think that's gonna solve the problem?
The foundation was crumbling.
Yeah, that's a no-go. That's a no-go. You can use granite and that can be a strong base and that can get you some of the height, which is why some of our older massive buildings, but those are like structures that take huge amounts of width and that's not what regular people are living in. Guys, think about it. The White House is only 3 stories high. Why?
It's made out of brick.
Right.
Oh, that makes sense.
The White House is only 3 stories high. 3.5 stories because it has a top part, but it's 3.5 stories high because it's made out of,
Brick.
yeah. Well, they have annexes that go off the back because when you look at the front and how it's from the front, it looks like what you think it is. And then there's annexes and offices and stuff out the back, and then they built underground stuff. Yeah, it's the White House. It's the leader. We're the leader of the free world. Has anyone ever been in the White House? Oh, I hate you. I have applied every single year. Marco Rubio is ignoring me. I want to go so bad. But you have to get a senator's approval to go now. You can't just like show up. Because starting with Obama had with Trump, they've limited access to the White House.
Yeah, don't they like multiple?
They don't really. Trump did not do any tours. Biden does some, but it's nowhere near the levels of his predecessor, like the Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas. It's a very limited access to the White House. I mean, part of it is because of security, yeah? We're living in a different time. Also, a pandemic, right? And that's been some of the issue. And of course, there's also political things, but we'll deal with that later. See ya! Huh?
Going so quick and everything.
That's okay. That's okay. I think we learned some real life things today.
Yeah, I think it helped out here.
Well, some of these things are going to keep coming up. The coal to oil to gasoline transition is something we'll be talking about over and over again. The transition of building structures is something we'll be talking about going forward. We're literally forming the foundation of our society right now, which is pretty cool. Do not leave your candy wrappers on my floor. Bye, darling. See you, Olivia. Bye. Lauren, you're not trying to be an architect, are you? Okay. You are very bright, Lauren, and you have a very bright future in pretty much any other field, my love. Is that